Cajun Cardboard coming at you from the great state of Louisiana with another Explore the Card episode for you on the Cajun Cardboard channel. These episodes are now back on the Cajun Cardboard channel. We thought that was probably a better place for these since it's so Jordan specific, since it's so 90s basketball specific, and that's sort of the foundation and the backbone of my channel. Today's episode is none other than the 1992 FLEER Total D. The last two episodes have featured some of Jordan's earliest inserts. This is his 1992 FLEER Total D, card number 5 in that insert set. And without any delay, let's get cranking here. I have got pulled up on your screen. Let me get you here. Yep, here we go. So this is Trading Card Database, right? This is where I always go to start these episodes because I want to know what set these insert cards come from. The 1992 FLEER set consists of 144 cards. I'll be quite honest with you. I think these cards, 444 cards. I think this set was crazy overprinted and crazy ugly. I mean, you can see the cards flashing across your screen. Tell me if I'm wrong. I just don't think these base cards look very good, to be quite honest with you. Although Tracy Murray's hair does look good right there. It looks like a young, athletic Cajun Cardboard in that picture. 1 through 264 is Series 1. 265 through 444 is Series 2. And then just a little tidbit. The set was also used for the 1992 FLEER Drakes and the 1992 FLEER Tony's Pizza sets. So if you want to do more research on that, you can jump into Trading Card Database yourself. The cards do appear in alphabetical team order, as you can see, starting with the Atlanta Hawks, of course. Shaq and Zoe are the big rookies. Card number, let's go ahead and flip over there. Jordan has 4 cards in the base set. And just to get the 4 Jordan base cards and PSA 10 would cost you around $1,500, approximately, give or take, maybe $1,200 to $1,800, somewhere in there if you wanted to snag those 4 cards in PSA 10 condition. There are numerous insert sets within 1992 FLEER, but the most important ones, I'm going to pull them up right here. There's all the insert sets. The ones, and I say most important, the ones featuring Jordan are the All-Stars, which were 1 in 9 Series 1 packs. The team leaders, which we're going to talk about today, which were, the Total D, which were inserted 1 in 5 Series 2 cello packs. We'll talk a little bit more about what those are, and we'll look at those on eBay. And then the team leaders, which were inserted 5 in 6 Series 1 rack packs, which can get a little bit confusing on those pack odds. But we're here today to talk about the Total D, which is just a really cool insert set. I'll be quite honest with you, there's a bunch of cards in there, 15 cards in there. MJ is card number 5 in the set. As we talked about, the 9 of the 15 players in the insert set were Hall of Famers, and that's a 60% Hall of Fame rate for you set collectors out there. I know people like to chase sets. Good luck if you want to put this together in PSA 10. It is no easy feat, and you've got a bunch of zeros in the pop report, if I recall from looking at it, generally speaking. The Jordan's are really rare. It's a super low pop, which we'll look at in a second when we look at Card Ladder and look at our pop and price table. The biggest imposter in here is Michael, spelled E-A-L Williams. Yes, that's how he spelled his name. He played for the Minnesota Timberwolves. He was a career 11, 2, and 5, but he stole the hell out of the ball, which is probably why he's in an insert set called Total D, but you've probably never heard of him, and he's never been in any other insert sets of any relevance whatsoever. So Michael or Michael Williams, I don't even remember. He played for the T-Wolves, and he was 11, 2, and 5 guy, pedestrian by anybody's standards, but he was always at or near the top of the league in steals, and so that was sort of his focus. Maybe he was like the Lugens Dort of his time. The Total D, like we said, were inserted 1 in 5 Series 2 cello packs. Let's look at the card itself. There it is. And I'm going to show you my card because I'm always very straightforward with you guys. If I own a card, I tell you what I own, what grade, things like that. I actually also own 2 PSA 6s of this card where PSA decided to break one off in my hindquarters and kick me right in the nuggets, and they did. They gave me PSA 6 on 2 that I submitted that honestly looked like 8s, maybe 9s. There was no whitening. They were beautiful. They didn't look a lot different from this PSA 10, which just gives you an idea of how arbitrary the grading system is. Those 2 cards, I'm probably either going to crack and resub to BGS or just go ahead and sell them as is. I haven't decided. I got to think about that. Let me know what you would do with two PSA 6 FLEER total Ds that look like 8s or 9s. I got the total D on that deal from PSA 10 to put it in perspective. Let's talk about the card itself. On the back of the card, let's zoom in. Michael Jordan, the rock stops here. That was probably really cool to call a basketball a rock back in 1992. Now it's kind of nerdy, right? But you don't earn the title Mr. Basketball Universe. I didn't know he had that title. By merely scoring at will, Michael Jordan, often seen with an S on his chest, leaping tall buildings in the offseason, uses his superior quickness and agility to lead the Chicago Bulls' tenacious pressure D. At 6'6", his size presents an immediate problem for most shooting guards. He has to defend, a member of the All-NBA defensive first team for 5 years running. His airness is also mobile and strong enough to fight through most picks. When motivated, noted one NBA observer, Jordan can flat out be the best defender in the league, bar none. I'm with you on that. I've always said that. I thought he was the best defender of his generation. Pippen's obviously in that conversation. Jordan can flat out, during the 91-92 season, he would finish 6th in the league in steals with 2.3 picks per game, and he had the highest defensive rebounding average per minute of any shooting guard in the game. Basically, Jordan's dominant athleticism and court vision has allowed him to focus more on a defensive and supporting role for the two-time world champions. Supporting role. That's interesting. His dominant athleticism and court vision has allowed him to focus on a supporting role. I forgot that Steve Kerr and Bill Winnington were the focal points, the alphas on those Bulls teams, showing opponents and fans alike why he may be the most complete, maybe, just possibly, be the most complete basketball player to ever play the game. That's it for front and back. As clean as it gets. D is obviously in color. Everything outside that D is in black and white. Just one dude you do not want locking up on you in an ISO situation on the wing. He's just nasty. He's just as nasty on D as he was on offense as far as being a cutthroat killer. Let's give the people what they want. Pops and prices. Here we go. I've got the chart pulled up. As always, we got PSA 10, BGS 9.5, PSA 9, BGS 9. The first thing that'll jump out at you is over in the left-hand column under the pop, you'll see for the combined gems, 29 and 26 respectively. 55 total is not a lot out here, fellas and ladies. If you're looking to pick this card up in gem condition, it's not going to come along very often, as we will see. Only 2 combined gems have sold in the last 6 months. So we're in this era, right? And we'll look at this more on Card Ladder in a second, but we're in this era where, cards that are pop 50 are selling 25 times in the last year and a half. And so, this investor influx into the hobby from other asset classes and just new entrants in the hobby, people trying to make money on cards only and not trying to collect the cards. Again, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying that is what I'm observing in that era where cards are coming out of the weeds and being sold more than you would think they would for their given population. This pop 55 card's shown up twice over the last 6 months in gem mint condition, 0 times in a PSA 10 condition. So that's the first thing that jumps out at me. The next thing that jumps out is because of the low pops, that's a result of the fact that it's got the 4 black borders. It's just hard to find a card with no whitening on the edges. There is nowhere to hide the centering. If we go back and look at the card, as you guys can see, this is not a perfectly centered 10. It is within the PSA standards for left, right, and up, top, down margin, of course, but it's not perfect. So finding one perfectly centered is rare, and finding one without any whitening on the edges is rare. You can even see a little touch of whitening on the left edge on this one that might be post-slabbing, but with these high-def images from PWCC, it may look white on the picture on your screen, but it wouldn't look white if you were holding the card in your hand necessarily. But going back to our pop table, the pop of the PSA 10 is a 4% gem rate. The BGS 9.5 is a 6% gem rate. Most of these have been graded with PSA 783 compared to 467. The one thing I do want to caution you with, and we're about to switch over to Card Ladder so I can show you what I'm talking about, is the most recent sold price for the PSA 10 is $9,600. The BGS 9.5 is $1,440. So you're going to look at that and you're going to look at those numbers, and this is why you always have to look closer at these data pricing tools like Card Ladder and market movers or card headquarters or whatever they're called. There's fewer BGS 9.5s, but that's like a what, 7 to, yeah, like a right at a 7-to-1 ratio. PSA 10 is 7x the last sale price of BGS 9.5. But let's pull up the PSA 10 in card ladder and let's look closer. So in March of this very year, the card sold for $4,600 approximately. 3 days later, 6 days later, it sells for $9,600. I'm not buying it. I'm just not buying it. There's just no way that happened, especially since there was a substantiated, sale prior to that. Just a few months earlier, 4 months earlier, it was $5,500. We know cards have dipped a little bit in 2022, even rare Jordan Grails like the one we're looking at. And then it dropped, $500 to $4,600, $900 to $4,600. To believe that it then jumped almost doubled in price, more than doubled in price to $9,600 6 days later. It just doesn't seem right to me. It happened on Golden, and I'm not saying it didn't happen, but that just seems unlikely. I would be very cautious when there's this few data points to rely on that, and I'm saying that from the perspective of an owner of the card in a PSA 10 condition. Trust me when I tell you, I want the card to be worth $9,600. I'm just not sure that's there, so I would advise you to tread carefully if you're looking at acquiring a PSA 10, relying on that last data point, because it seems nonsensical. And to take it a step further, the BGS 9.5, which is a little bit lower pop, believe it or not, you can see what that card's done. It's actually come down here in 2022. So from the last sale in July. So even over the last 4 months, that card's come down. It's half. It sold for half of what it did in July. So to think that the card more than doubled in March 6 days later in PSA 10 condition just seems unlikely to me. So that's why these charts can be a little misleading. The BGS 9.5 is down 81%. The PSA 10 is up 75% over the last 2 years. I'm not buying it, man. That's just too much of a disparity. I know PSA 10 is king, but that doesn't seem right. So I would be very cautious when it comes to identifying the price point that you're willing to pay for one of these gem cards. You're going to have a lot more predictability and dependability if you look at PSA 9 because there's more data points. So you've got a less chance for the chart to sway drastically one way or the other. As you can see, over the last 2 years, this card sold 43 times as opposed to 3 times for the PSA 10. So a lot more predictability, a lot more certainty, a lot more dependability. I'm not saying any of these can't be unpaid auctions or things like that, but it's less likely that one sale, these sales are obviously going to stand out because they were in that first quarter bubble. But after that, it gets pretty steady and it's pretty steadily down, which doesn't surprise anybody, down 50% over the last year. Only $298 for a PSA 9. It's a pop 176. So the card itself, because we looked at the pop, and the pack odds being, what did we say, 1 in every 5 Series 2 cello packs. It's not crazy, right? And there's only 15 in there. So not an impossible card to pull. For that reason, the PSA 9 takes a huge step down. It's really the, grading it in, gem mint condition, which makes it super scarce. But again, just to focus, only 2 gems have sold in the last 6 months, 0 PSA 10s. Look at the pop growth. People are trying to grade this card with PSA, a few in BGS, right? But mostly PSA. 39 9s have come back and been added into the pop report. 1 PSA 10 over the last 20 months. 1. So that 4% might even be misleading. It might be more like 1 or 2% under modern day PSA grading standards. What's on eBay? Let's talk about it. Oh, by the way, there's 0 black labels. There's 0 BGS 10s. But let's look at what's on eBay. When I search 1992 FLEER Total D Michael Jordan, as you can see, I get 65 results. Now, some of these are going to be duplicates or screwed up or whatever, but you can tell by 65 results that it's not a rare card. It's a rare card in gem condition, but it's not a rare card per se. You've got a PSA 8 auction raw. You got Hakeem and Stock. Did I not put Jordan in the title? No, I put Jordan, but we pulled Hakeem and Stockton anyway. We're pulling all kinds of stuff. Joe Dumars, Pippen, Ewing. There are people putting Jordan. Why are those pulling up? Damn it, eBay. Here's a 9.5 for $5,000. Let's go back to our pop report. table and look at that. Last one sold for $14.40, so I'm going to go ahead and pass on that one. A bunch of raw. We're getting some non-Jordan stuff, PSA 8s, SGC 9s, so you can see the cards out there. If you want it, you can go grab it. I would try to find an auction. Here's a nice auction for a PSA 8 that you might want to check out. It seems a little bit high for that grade right there. But what about if we want to open cello boxes? I got 9 results, but these are going to be tricky. Remember, these are Series 2 only. Is the only place you can pull the total Ds, and then they're only from the cello packs, which came in cello sealed boxes of 36 packs, and this is what they look like, what you see on your screen right here on eBay. That's what those cello packs look like. Plenty of options out there, and they're very inexpensive. 150 bucks, 130 bucks for these are Series 1. So be careful. No Series 1, Series 2 only. This is what Series 2 looks like. A little bit different cover, a little bit different outside packaging for those. Now, the thing you got to be careful with is cards like this is that they stick together or they brick. And so when you peel a card off of the card that's in front of it, sometimes it'll peel the surface off as well. These total Ds do have a little bit of a glossy to them, as you can see, from looking at the one. You can't really tell, but there's a little bit of glossy. So those are the cards that are most likely to stick. So something to keep in mind. What about let's say I used, am I a buy, a sell, or a hold? Here's the card that I own. I'm a firm hold. I'm not looking to buy another one. I'm going to hold for Cajun Eternity, which is copyright Cajun Cardboard. That means I have no idea. That means I'm going to have it until I have no idea how long I'm going to have it, but I have no intentions to sell this card at any point in time because I'm trying to grow my Jordan collection. Yes, I am trying to collect Jordan cards. So that's kind of what I do. Do I sell some here and there? Yeah, I do. But it's always with the focus of growing the collection, whether it be in PSA 10, BGS 9.5, or even in the new parallel PC that I've started to create in PSA 8. The card in high grade in PSA 10 is a mid-level card. The BGS 9.5 and below are all low-level cards, meaning they're below $5,000 in those particular grades. What if I had $9,000 to go spend on a card? Actually, I think I used Card Ladder's value estimate. Card Ladder estimates it at $69.78, so that should give you some idea. Of course, they're also using that last data point of 9,600, so I don't know how accurate that's going to be either, and it's got a 1 on the confidence meter. For those of you who aren't familiar, the Card Ladder value seeks to reflect the card's current market price. It's determined by anchoring the card's last sold price to the player's total market index. So it's tying this card to all of the other Jordan cards that Card Ladder has in the index, and as the price of all those Jordans as an aggregate fluctuates up and down, it pulls the last sale price of this particular Jordan and moves it accordingly. Basically, it tries to reflect the current value of a particular card in the current market for that player. But that being said, the last data point, I just don't like that 9,600. It just seems inorganic considering it sold for 4,600 6 days before that. So I'd be careful with that. Anyway, where was I? Oh, we're going to compare it to 3 other cards and then choose between those cards like we do in every episode. We've got the 1998 Skybox EX Century Dunk and Go Nuts. We've got the 98 Metal Universe Planet Metal Die Cut. That's the second year Planet Metal. And we've got the 93 Ultra Power in the Key. So a little bit of Ultra, a little bit of early Jordan insert flair in a battle between the Total D and the Power in the Key. If you're asking me to choose between these 4 cards that we're looking at today, I am going to start with the Planet Metal, and the Planet Metal is going to be first, and you guys know if you watch my channel why, because it emanates from the Metal Universe set, and the Metal Universe is my favorite product from the 1990s. The 98 Metal Universe is probably the 3rd favorite behind the 97 Championship and the 97 Metal Universe, but nevertheless it is Metal Universe, and therefore all of the subset cards, all of the inserts and parallels that come from those sets mean the most to me, and so I personally would take this card. It's also a Pop 30, but as you can see over the last 2 years, and this is what is something to really kind of fixate on. This is a Pop 30 card, and over the last 2 years in PSA 10, the Pop 30 PSA 10 has sold 15 times. If we go back to Card Ladder and we look at the total DPSA 10 over the last 2 years, it's sold 3 times. So just kind of let that sink in. That's just very odd to me. I don't know, something to kind of keep in mind. Next on my list, I would probably go with this Dunkin' Go Nuts and PSA 10, again, with the caveat and the prerequisite that it is a clear copy, because there are yellow PSA 10s out there. So I would make sure that you see it with a sheet of white paper behind it. But it's a pop 61, so a little bit higher pop, but the card just pops, right? It's just a recognizable card. It pops. It comes from another great product from the 90s. That 98 Skybox EX Century is just nasty. And this card hits on a lot of levels. One thing to keep in mind with this card is there's actually a lot of BGS 10s, 29, and there's even 2 BGS blacks, which would have to be one of the coolest looking cards of all time if you could pick that up. The BGS 10 for the Dunkin' Go Nuts last sold for $7,200, and the PSA 10 last sold for $7,000, which is kind of surprising. Usually BGS 10 has a pretty substantial premium over the PSA 10 when it comes to Jordan stuff from the 90s, but this one's actually running a little bit, it looks like. That's interesting. Let's look at that over the last 3 months. Yeah, up 40% over the last 3 months, so that's good to see, a Jordan card that's going up. So Dunkin' Go Nuts, this card right here would be my number 2 choice. This card would be my number 1 choice. My number 3 choice would be the Total D that we're talking about today, in Pop 29 as a PSA 10 card. And then lastly, I would pick up this Power of the Key. It's a Pop 45, and it is also a unique card to say the least. It's just not as aesthetically appealing to me as the other 3 cards. It's just not. I don't know how else to say it, but it's a pretty steady result if you look at the last 2 years of sales comps for that card. And I was just curious. Yeah, no PSA 10s added. So all these cards, Pop 45, Pop 30, Pop 61, and Pop 29. That is not a lot out there to be had. Where do I rank this FLEER Total D on the Cajun Cardboard scale of Jordan card relevance? I'm going to give it a 6.5. I don't think it quite rises to the level of a 7 like a Planet Metal would or a Dunkin' Go Nuts would. And it just comes down to aesthetics. It's a good looking card. Don't get me wrong. It's a really good looking card. I like how clean it is. I like the design. I just don't think it quite has the same pop as some of these other cards. It is a low pop card, and it is an early Jordan insert, which makes it a little bit more condition sensitive, because now you're talking, what is that, 30 years old? So this card's 30 years old. The others are about 25 years old. And it came out of a paper product that you could catch on retail. So it's just harder to find this card in really good condition. It's also not the rarest card out there. It's just not that impossible to pull. I guess it's a 1 in 75 packs. Is that right? Since it was a 1 in 5 Series 2 cello packs, and then there were 15 in there. What's 15 times 5? Yeah, it's 75. So it was a 1 in 75 pack odds card. That's not crazy, especially not compared to some of these other bad boys that you see on your screen right there. So that's where I rank the card. Let me know what you guys think. Is this a card that you guys have in your collection? Is it a card you want to put in your collection? Let me know how you guys feel about these Explore the Card episodes. I will make this announcement now because I want to start doing a lot more original content and a lot more content, let me square up, where I bring people onto the channel and talk to other people about what they're doing, what they're collecting, not just Jordans, but other cards, generally speaking, what's going on in the hobby. I want to start doing some more novel, original stuff, and so I'm going to move these Explore the Card episodes back to every other Friday. So I'm sorry if that frustrates some people, but I've kind of got to pick and choose, and I've got to try to start managing my time a little bit better here, and make sure that the channel permits me to keep putting out the content at the right clip that I am, and it's not taking too much of my time during the day, because I do have 7 kids, a wife, and a couple of jobs and a couple of businesses I'm trying to run. And by the way, I'm trying to also manage a collection and grow a collection and make some decisions here in a really tough time in the market. So these Explore the Card episodes, this is episode number 54, so that's not bad to get 54 under your belt. If that was pretty close to 1 a week, because I started my channel right about 1 year ago, and thanks to the nearly 2,100 people who have subscribed. You know who you are. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, especially some of you OGs that came in early and have stood by me since the beginning. Hopefully I'm getting a little bit better at this. I'm not getting any briefer or more brief. I'm still very long-winded, and so especially at the end of these videos. Anyway, if you're watching still, you know how much I appreciate you guys watching. Click one of these videos at the end and keep watching. There's some other really good stuff on this channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, I highly suggest you consider it and give it a shot. You can always unsubscribe if you don't like it, but hit the bell icon for notifications as well. And as always, keep collecting, stay positive in the hobby, and peace.